Like,
go get it, baby.
What's stopping the Bears from going to get him?
Well, money for a guard, and maybe whatever the alternatives would be, and where else that those resources would be allocated, I think. So we'll see. And it's possible the Bears just don't value that position at that number. And from everybody we've talked to, say if you've got a Quentin Nelson, if you have somebody who's going to be the best in the league for sure at that position, or one of the top 2 or 3, maybe you could justify it, especially with all the problems they've had in the interior of the line. Well, Brian Baldinger, a former offensive lineman in his own right, had nothing but hosannas for the potential Bears free agent target.
I've already talked to one team in this league that has already told me he's their number one priority in free agency. And they would, and I don't know what that means exactly from a price standpoint, but I'll say this. I go to this camp called OL Masterminds every year in Dallas. It's run by Duke Manyweather and Lane Johnson, and I've gone every year for 7 years. And since Trey Smith came into this league, him and Creed Humphrey, 2 weeks before training camp starts, early in July, they're there in the front row with notebooks, taking notes, breakout sessions, teaching younger players. They love the game. Trey Smith is a student of the game. He's very, very smart. I've had professors of his at Tennessee tell me that he sat in the front room, never missed a class. The guy is the ultimate pro, and that's what you're getting. You're getting the ultimate pro that takes great pride in the game and trying to get better. And so I don't know what that cost is, but he's going to be the highest paid guard in football.
Baldy, I don't know if you have Ryan Poles on speed dial, but a lot of Bears fans hearing that hope that you do, because he should be their number one priority in free agency, because he is the kind of guy that they could build around and put in that offensive line and make Ben Johnson's offense look even better.
I totally agree. In fact, I remember when he was drafted, and I remember training camp, and that year, 4 years ago, I was doing, I think, the Chiefs' opening game of the season against Cleveland. So I see Patrick Mahomes down the field, 2021, and we always catch up before a game if I see him. So he comes over and he goes, "You've been watching my right guard." I go, "Yeah, I mean, Trey Smith." He goes, "No, have you been watching my right guard?" He goes, "Baldy, he's got a howitzer for a right hand. He's already started fights in practice. He finishes fights in practice. He's the alpha dog." I mean, that was Mahomes telling me about him just from training camp and preseason games. Every team would want Trey Smith to build their offensive line around. You just need a guy like that. He's no nonsense. He finishes plays. He's a nasty, nasty player. On the field, he is a gentleman and a first-class individual off the field. If I was Chicago and I'm Ryan Poles, he's my number one priority this offseason.
Well, you also want to know who developed him and how he got this good. And I know he was underdrafted because of the medical issue that he had with blood clots in his lungs that they were worried could cause pulmonary embolisms or strokes or heart attacks. And that has been mitigated with medication. So I think that's probably why he was in the 6th round. And he was a tackle, as so many interior linemen are in the NFL. We've talked about that. But I'd like to know, as he was developed and how the decisions were made and how they figured out that guard was going to be his spot over time.
Did you read the Dan Pompei Athletic article about him? The in-depth piece about Trey Smith?
I haven't yet.
Oh, let me tell you something. You're going to read that piece, and after you're going to read that piece, you're going to say, yeah, go get him.
Okay, why?
It just details why he's so valuable. It's kind of furthering what Baldy was just talking about when you have your quarterback talking about an offensive line. Travis Kelce calls him the enforcer. You know what I always talk about when I say what type of lineman this team needs?
Nasty.
He's nasty. And you wouldn't know it just listening to him talk, because he's very soft-spoken, well-spoken, just kind of very on the line with it. But understanding how other people describe him as a guy who will start a fight, finish a fight, be that guy. If Travis Kelce, who's been playing football over the length of a Hall of Fame career, this could possibly if he changes his mind, be his final year in the NFL, first ballot Hall of Famer. Tells you a guy is as valuable as he is describing. I gotta roll with that. And he's a tone setter. And what does this Eagles offensive line, or it's not Eagles, what does this Bears offensive line need more than anything else on that line?
Well, they need to be able to block.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, that kind of just comes with the territory. But part of the attitude of blocking comes with, are you coming to work every day and getting the job done? You just heard him talk about the notebooks out, still trying to get better at this stage in his career as a multiple-time Super Bowl winner.
Then why would they let him go?
And I'm saying they may not. You may have to.
If all these things are true, that's not a play. Why would the Chiefs of all teams be like, yeah, he can walk?
I don't know that it'd be as simple as, yeah, he can walk.
Well, as of right now, they have $2.2 million in cap space. That's why. Obviously, that can be restructured, but they don't have a lot of room.
Can't they go to the bank of Mahomes at this point?
And restructure it all.
Yeah.
No, we know they're going to do that anyway. That's just something they do regularly because, hey, we have the best quarterback in football, but he also wants to win football games.
I would tell you, if you say, what does the Bears offensive line need to do? They need to stay on their feet. I watched way too many games where Bears offensive linemen
are on the ground
and they never get up. How many times it just you look at the end of a play and they're just not standing up. It started to make me crazy after a while. And once I started seeing it, you can't unsee it. You're like, stop falling down and stop getting imbalanced as you try to make a block. What do we know about Dan Rouchar as to whether or not they're going to be primary zone or primary gap? Do we know is it ISO, duo, gap, or is it going to be inside zone, outside zone, or do they want the flexibility to do all of it?
It's a great question. We don't have answers yet, but we will.
And because sometimes in zone schemes, guys don't get to maul. It's hard to be nasty if you're doing a bucket step. And we've had Bears offensive line coaches that taught sort of this cover, read, react, which is different than just fire off the ball. It's fire, yeah. There'll be something to talk to Olin about probably, and to maybe he knows what Rouchar has coached before. And a lot of these teams are trying to be multiple in some of what they do. But there's a big number for a guard.
Okay.
Big number.
The numbers are going to get bigger though because the salary cap's going to increase. If you can get a guy who fits this type of profile, we know they don't come open often. He may end up re-signing with Kansas City. But I think this is one of those situations where you have to go and at least make an effort to go get him.